So welcome to another episode of the Medical Device Marketing Podcast. So my name's Claudia Holy, and today we have a very special guest, which is Hannah Shepley. Welcome, Hannah.
Hi, thank you very much for having me.
You're very welcome. So today we're going to talk about everything to do with chatbots. Have you ever wondered why, what's the benefits of using chatbots? What's the negatives? What are the different types of chatbots you can use? Hannah is a bit of an expert when it comes to chatbots. So I'm going to be investigating all of this with her today. So great. Hannah, great. So Hannah, over to you. So what are actually chatbots? For anybody who's not totally sure.
Yeah, so a chatbot is essentially whenever you've gone onto a website, you might get a little pop-up, and it's an interface between, a human being and a little bot that sits on a website that can answer questions. And there's two types of them. So we've had chatbots for a long time, and the first type is kind of without AI. AI is this big kind of explosion that we're all kind of seemingly on the sides of as it goes up. But without AI, they're rule-based, so you can program them to recognize specific keywords, and respond like corresponding kind of predefined answers. They work well, they're simple, but they can't handle complex queries. And then you've got the rise of chatbots with AI, and these can, be programmed to simulate normal sort of human conversation. They can understand natural language and nuances in language, and also context, so they can be more powerful. Again, they're not the finished article, because anyone that's experimented with AI, sometimes you put something in and you go, I'm not sure what that is. But this is the way that chatbots seemingly are moving, that they kind of take the context of the information and answer, and you can program them, and you can put sort of boundaries in, so they're not going to search the web for the answer. You want them, if you're on a website, to answer questions about your product, service or offering, so it can be defined within kind of that system as well, because I think that's often people think, well, what's AI going to do? So it's the two, sort of with AI and without.
And I think it's interesting that we're seeing AI integrating into so many platforms that didn't have AI in before. So it's something that even if you're using a chatbot software now, you're likely going to see it with AI very, very shortly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think with the rise of AI, that interface will change. So it may even look very human, and the language that you get back, it's going to be quite hard, I think, to understand. Are you speaking to a human? Are you not? So we'll become very used to that. But already now, like some of the sort of the nuances in language that come back on these chatbots, you go, "Oh, is that a real person?" And then you ask them a question and it breaks it, and you go, "Oh no, that's the chatbot."
And then they put you through to a real person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Excellent. So where do chatbots appear? So like, where can you actually use chatbots? So if we look at your website particularly, where can you use chatbots?
They can be used anywhere you want, really. And again, this is, if you're talking about like sort of consistency and messaging, they can actually be used to really enhance your brand. So you can have them kind of as pop-ups that come up to kind of guide your customer through their journey. They could be floating, so they come down. So as you scroll down through a web page, they can kind of come down. So again, keeping your audience engaged and kind of giving them that next step. You can have them floating, you can integrate them into specific pages, because again, it depends. If you were on a contact us page, that might be a really good place to put one. Other areas maybe not, so it's specific to you. And they can be used for anything from answering sort of simple FAQs to providing recommendations, and booking an appointment is a really common one nowadays. But again, nice parameters where that sort of predefined kind of response is already set.
And it's interesting because as chatbots get more advanced, they're going to significantly streamline how people use your website. So you might have a huge number of articles and information like we have on our website. But actually, if you have a chatbot that only looks at your website, people can very quickly get all the relevant information they need, which is really exciting because it speeds up, information transfer for people.
Yeah, and I agree. We've got a knowledge hub on our website, and we've got so many different articles, and we've got a good search feature. But you can imagine actually a chatbot. You go, I'd like recommendations on how to, and it will pull sort of key recommendations specific to that customer rather than everything branding or everything website or however we categorize it. It's given that extra additional remit to it to make it even more personalized to the customer's journey.
I think that's a great point, because if you have a look at our website, we probably have 10 articles on branding, all different types of articles on branding. And that probably applies for every other area that we work in as well. But actually to read all those 10, you might want little bits out of each of them. So if you can use your chatbot to pull all that together in one go, how fantastic is that? So it really is more personalized.
Yeah, and that's the way consumers want it, isn't it? They want to go onto a website and feel special, that it's information generated for them.
We're also busy at the moment as well. So the faster we can get the information and the right information, which is another thing we always talk about with AI, but not chatbots. So we'll stick to chatbots now. So what are the arguments for having a chatbot? What are the benefits of having a chatbot? Why should people install them on their website, or what should they think about so they can make the right decision for them?
So I think it depends on lots of different factors, and I guess it depends on where you're spending your time. The great thing about a chatbot is that they don't sleep, so they're there on your website 24 hours a day, and you never know when your customer is scrolling through your website. We all suffer with insomnia at 2 a.m. and think, oh, I must sort that out, and suddenly you've got that kind of interface where someone can actually get a question live, rather than doing that additional step of kind of leaving their email or contact details and waiting for a response. They can get that straight away. So it's great because it can improve that user experience. It can generate leads. It can, if they're existing customers and they want to troubleshoot something, for instance, they can get that information. Especially a medical device, clinicians work 24 hours a day, and you never know when they have a question or a query about a medical device and need an answer then. It also, frees up team time, because those FAQ sections, if they're not just kind of very static and they're responding to proper queries, that could answer a lot of simple queries that a customer has. So your team is not needing to be on the phone all the time to customers. So there's lots of different positives of having them on your website.
It's sort of, I suppose it's actually balancing or combining the power of amazing content, which is all the questions that your customers are asking, so that they can answer their own questions, which means you don't then have to do that, or they don't have to wait, and applying that or combining that with an AI bot, which will then give all that amazing information you've written in a really, really quick way. So it just enhances not only your sales team's efficiency, but also your customer experience. So when you put those two together, it's amazing.
Yeah. And it's making them happy. You want to go onto a website and it be easy to navigate and deliver the answers that you're looking for quickly, as you say. And I think that's the whole kind of remit of the website and that sort of funnel that we're leading people down. But sometimes people just go on because they want a simple query answered, and that moves them further along their journey. Maybe they're not ready to kind of convert yet, but it kind of builds that trust that actually I've got the information I need. I can go away and think about it, and I'll revisit at a later date. It's that, for me, that I think is a real benefit of that, of having that chatbot there.
Yeah, no, totally. So there's a lot of benefits. Now we've spoken about it. In combination with content, there's a lot of benefits of having bots, especially AI bots. So what are the limitations? Because there's always two sides to any story. What are the limitations that people need to be aware of before deciding if this is right for them?
I think it's probably the time it takes to implement one. There's several different arguments against, but time taken is a big thing. So if you're using a non-AI powered or AI powered, you're going to have to set the parameters. So if it's kind of a non-powered, it's doing it on rule based. So every single parameter, every single FAQ will need to be mapped in there, so that a customer types something and you get the appropriate response. So if it's not going to provide the benefit, so if you're not needing it for lead generation, or you've got a system that really works well for you, it may be that it's not the right decision for you because of that. There's also a lack of emotional understanding that comes from a bot on a website, and I think we can all say that we've been on a bot on a website and you go, oh, for goodness sakes, I just want to speak to a human being. But I suspect even in a year's time, maybe even less, the interaction with AI will be so great that it'll be that speaking to a person, and it will be quite hard to notice the difference between. But we'll see on that one. And in terms of complex queries, I think that could be another limitation, because customers know sometimes what they're trying to write, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what the algorithm understands. So that kind of mismatch between can then lead to frustration, because customer types in a question that they think is personally reasonable, chatbot doesn't understand it, and just can't handle it, and either gives you wrong information, or just says you need to contact someone else, speak to the team when they're in. So I think it's not perfect, but we're all very used to seeing chatbots. I think that that's a big part of it, is that it's not new. Everybody is used to interacting with them, and at least giving them a good go to start with when they land on a website. And if they provide the information that they need, that's great. But there are problems as well at the moment.
I think the time one, I think you made two really good points there. The problems that we have at the moment will probably be ironed out with things like AI not, or chatbots not returning the right information.
Yeah.
But I think the time challenge that you mentioned is probably bigger than people actually realise, because you have to have the content somewhere. Whether you have content for your AI bot to find, or whether you have all your chatbot scripts written out, which is significant, and that's a really big project. It does take time whichever way, because if you're going to write a huge knowledge hub or something, which we totally advocate, but if you're going to write something like that, that takes a hell of a long time to do as well. So there are real benefits to having the chatbot, but you've got to understand there's a big amount of work that goes into implementing them, but the benefits may be worth it if you have it or will be worth it if you use it in the right way and it fits your business at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was a few statistics when we were planning for this article. We were looking at, a big question is, do people actually use them? Because if people don't use them and interact with them, we can say that there's a lot of benefits, but you need to understand that, yes, people do interact with them, but not everyone. So again, this kind of goes into that depends question. There was a statistic that I read that 62% of consumers would prefer to use customer service bot rather than wait for a simple answer. But that also means that 38% of your customer, or the customer base sampled, would not. So, more people would prefer. So, there's a lot of people that would, but there's some that won't. There was another one.
There's also live chat. Sorry, I just jumped in totally there, but I think also live chat, going down what we're talking about, that people would prefer to engage with a bot. I think a bot, it also is considered, I know it's a chat bot, but also most chat bots do have a live element to them as well. And that's another really great thing to think about, that people can get directly to you on your website through the live element of your chat bot. Because ultimately, if you can get the right answer, speak to a human, that can also be very, very effective.
Yeah, absolutely. And that leads into sort of the second statistic that I think was really powerful of, 64% of consumers claim that 24/7 service element is the most helpful element and the functionality of a chatbot. And I think that those two hand in hand, people are happy to use them to get a simple request, but also it's 24/7. And that's the real benefit, isn't it? That you're not having to wait for someone to respond to your query.
Totally. Because and also, we know from websites as well, if somebody can't find the information they want on your website, it takes on average 10 seconds for them to leave and go and find another website. And that time is only getting shorter. So everything you can do to help your audience to quickly find that information, because we might say, oh, it's okay, they'll come back tomorrow, or they'll phone us tomorrow. But data shows that people tend not really to do that. They tend to go and find another solution.
Yes, and the world is kind of our oyster at the moment, isn't it? In terms of searching for solutions, we can find all sorts of things at any time of the day. So this is your kind of customer facing element. It's that kind of first interaction and bringing people in. And if they can get their answer, they're more likely to stay. And when they're more likely to stay, they may more likely to look around the rest of your site and then move along their journey. So it's kind of that integral part. It's another weapon in the armory, so to speak.
Absolutely. Yeah, to keep them on your site, keep them moving through your site, keep them reading more content. And we also know that the more content people read, the more likely they are to convert. That may seem like a really obvious thing to say, but people have to read quite a significant amount of content before they really increase their likelihood of converting. So anything you can do to help people move through your site.
Yeah.
Pardon?
It surprises me how much people need to read before they're comfortable. We always we talk about sort of inbound marketing, content marketing, and the importance of it so much. But actually, it's phenomenally important because you and I as consumers, whenever we research a big decision, as generally like medical device decisions often are, you really need that reassurance, and you need to understand every nuance. And you find yourself sitting for hours sometimes, kind of looking through different aspects of it before you're ready to make your decision. So being able to easily navigate that and get the information you need in your journey is really important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how does somebody actually decide if this is right for them? So we've gone through the pros, we've gone through the negatives, we've gone through people do engage with chatbots. How do people decide if this is the right thing and they should be installing a chatbot on their website?
It depends. I mean, I know it's like the answer we always give, but it really, really depends on the time that you've got, the benefit that you see from it, the need. If you've not got a website that's particularly set up for conversion, it's not particularly developed, it's probably not the right time to invest in a chatbot until you've done the rest of the interface and all of that background work. So I think it's where you are on your journey, where your website is, what you need it for, how much time are you taking answering queries, when is your customer sort of base interacting with you? Are they very happy to interact on a daily basis in like office hours, or are they asking things overnight via email, or are like queries really, really simple? Could that be done by a chatbot, and would your customers be happy? Because again, you don't want to implement things without having a conversation with your customer base to see how that they how they would interact with it. So there's so many different bits to consider, but the benefit being, if all of those bits are in place, it doesn't sleep. You've got 24/7 kind of support on your website your customers can access, frees up time and kind of improves that experience for your customer.
Yeah, it's exciting actually. It's exciting because you're right. The chatbot never sleeps and content never sleeps either. So if you get those two working really, really well together, suddenly you have an arm to your sales team, which is working 24/7 and delivering delivering leads into your sales team. So it's an exciting proposition when you think about it that way. But it has to be, as you say, it has to be a strategic decision, has to come at the right time. Otherwise, you probably you likely won't see the results, and then you'll feel they don't work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, Hannah, I think we've covered everything there. Is there anything else you would say to everybody about installing chatbots? I think we've covered everything quite nicely, but is there anything else you would leave? What's the one thing you would leave people with?
For me, the technology is getting really exciting. So I think that in 6 months, a year, 18 months, the technology that you're considering then to now is going to be vastly different. So, if you're thinking of, installing one, do the preparatory work now, double check that the website has the content needed, all of those sorts of things to make sure it's the right time. So actually that you're in the position that you're ready to go with the technology meeting you, because I really think it's evolving at such a pace that it's going to be quite seamless coming up. That's something that I take away from the research that I'm doing at the moment.
That's really exciting, thank you. And I think with everything you're doing in AI at the moment, I think you're very well positioned to talk about this as well and what we're going to be seeing in the future, because it's definitely going to be AI driven, which is very, very exciting. Yeah. Great opportunities for everybody. Fantastic. Well, Hannah, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Enjoyed it as always.
You're very welcome. If anybody would like any help or find out more information about how to install the chatbot on your website, how to set it up correctly, or even just is it right for you, feel free to get in contact with us through LinkedIn, through our website, or through one of our chatbots, and we can certainly have a conversation about that. But thank you very much for listening, and we look forward to welcoming you to the next Medical Device Marketing podcast.